Oh,
Boom. All right. We're on. Took us a while. We finally got it. All right. So we're going to do some intros. Start off with Roman.
What's up? What's up? I'm a coach, strength conditioning coach. I'm in college for clinical exercise science currently. Been in the CrossFit, competitive fitness, and Olympic weightlifting world for almost 6 years now. Kind of fell into it from training for football and competitive swimming growing up, and have been competing for the past 5 years, and been coaching for about 5 years now, ranging from group fitness, CrossFit, and probably the past 3 years doing remote design for athletes.
All right. Jason.
Cool, man. What's up, everybody? My name's Jason Lopes. I'm a strength conditioning coach over in California for Fresno State. I have an exercise science degree. I have my NCSA CSCS certification. CEO of Method X, a performance-based supplement company. I've been in fitness since day one, since little tyke soccer and all the way through. And I'm a big mutt. I CrossFit. I've trained through powerlifting and MMA and specific sports teams, and so I've really kind of gotten this weird absurd view of fitness in this kind of well-rounded sense and the application of energy systems and kind of the all-encompassing view when it comes to fitness. And so kind of my expertise kind of lies within the unbiased view of fitness as a whole. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. And I'm Ruben Rodriguez, owner of Undoubted Training. Have a huge background in fitness. Started off when I was playing football in high school, and joined the Marine Corps. Always loved the fitness aspect of it. I was a martial arts instructor in the Marine Corps. That's where I kind of fell into CrossFit and this type of sport before I just did the traditional strength training. And then as soon as I got out of the Marine Corps, I went into strength and conditioning, got my certifications through a couple places. ISSA, NASM, did all those first. And then I didn't find my true love until I started doing other certifications. Like my first one was CrossFit Level 1, which was okay. And then I found my true calling when I went through the OPEX CCP program, which is I'm currently enrolled in. I just got to finish my case study on that. And but as far as fitness-wise, the way I train Olympic lifting with some gymnastics and some metabolic conditioning. Not your very traditional CrossFit. I have more of a season type of training throughout the year. And and we're going to kick it off today. We're going to go ahead and talk about supplementation and how it can better prepare you for the opens or any kind of workout or competition. And we're going to talk about different energy systems. We're going to break them down. We're going to have Jason kind of just preach, give us spread the knowledge. I'm going to go ahead and pull up this PowerPoint real quick. Dead silence. There it is. Boom. All right, Undoubted Training and Method X, performance implementation with Jason Lopes from Method X. Dude, I always thought your name was Jason Lopez.
Portuguese. It's a Portuguese Lopez.
Yeah. And we also got Roman with us. All right, so we're going to kick it off, and we're going to talk about the first system, which is our ATP creatine phosphate system, which is from 0 to 15 seconds. I'm going to kick it off to Jason.
All right. Well, when it comes to and really understanding the ATP creatine phosphate system, the first thing we have to understand before we go further in these energy systems conversations is it doesn't work like one's on, one's off, and they switch off like light switches. All your energy systems are always on at the same time. There's just predominance as far as one is working over the other depending on where they are in their energy system and timing of movement and intensity. So don't think that because you're in a 10 to 15 second range that all your other energy systems are not turned on. So that's like the starting disclaimer. They're always working at the same time. But to get into the ATP creatine phosphate system, You're usually going to see the energy demands is because of the creatine phosphate system is so simple. There's one bond that breaks and it gives you a tremendous amount of energy. And this is why it gives you that very hard and fast, intensive energy to perform hitting those repeated 75 to 90% loads, and runs purely on creatine because that creatine phosphate bond breaking. Now, this kind of runs into, as far as the supplementation goes, a lot of misconceptions about what creatine is actually doing in my body when I supplement it. And by seeing that literally the name of this energy system is your creatine phosphate system, you can kind of see how it plugs itself in there. If you were to have energy system-wise 3 types of macronutrients, it would be creatine, carbohydrate, and fat. And so creatine basically gets broken down very fast because it's giving you energy very quickly, and this gets depleted, as I stated, in about 15 seconds and needs to be reloaded really quick. So by supplementing yourself in creatine, you're able to expand your pool more. You're able to grab more out of it, so therefore you can stay explosive and intensive for longer, rather than if you're hitting, let's say, in a very simple sense, a 100-meter sprint. You're going to feel your most abundant amount of explosiveness, probably your first 40 to 50 yards, and then you actually feel your overall intensity, your ability to build start to slow down. That's your creatine system actually tapering down, and it happens that quick. So by your ability to enhance that pool, you can extend that line of intensive movement. So again, in a CrossFit realm, when you're doing any sort of repeated bouts, if you're doing EMOMs or if you're having to hit very heavy and intensive loads, that creatine is very important for your ability to sustain that intensity. Or if you're having multiple sets of singles or doubles or triples and whatnot, in which I have to be able to be at a certain intensity repeatedly, this is something that's incredibly important. And creatine does just that. You can think of creatine as a mere energy source more than any other type of anabolic agent, which has been kind of deemed creatine to be. It actually allows you to work more intensively and longer, and therefore you get greater stimuluses out of those certain energy systems for growth, if that makes sense. So now in kind of relating that to the whole grand scheme of things, creatine is applicable across the board for anyone, as you can see on the PowerPoint, from anyone working within loads of 75 to 95%, or even maxing out to 110% of their abilities. Creatine is the thing being used. So it really kind of doesn't matter in a sense how much carbohydrate and how much caffeine you have loaded up in your system, etc., because your body is purely using that creatine to produce the energy for that phase and system. So,
yeah. So kind of let's go into some of those myths. Everybody hears creatine and they start thinking, oh man, it's a steroid, or only guys should use that, or, what, so break that down, man. So, is it safe for, like you said, is it safe for females to use it? When is it not safe? What age limit should it be?
Absolutely. Well, creatine is one of those things that had kind of a rough past. I don't know, due to the beginning of creatine, there was some mixability and absorbability types of issues. I mean, in this day and age, since creatine has been out for so long, it's like the godfather of all kind of performance enhancement supplements. Anyone can take it. Kids can take it, up to females, adults, because it's something that if you can think of it, it's naturally occurring in your body. You're getting creatine when you eat a steak. You're supplementing creatine. It comes from your red meats in its most plentiful form. So anyone, for a freaking teenager to a woman to a man, this is an energy system. This is like me saying, I'm gonna go run a marathon, but I'm not gonna eat any carbohydrates at all before. It's kind of counterintuitive there. So if you're in any bit, shape, or form in an explosive type of sport, which is every sport you need some sort of explosibility, creatine needs to be there. That should be on the top of your tiers of what I actually want to get in first. And it's one of the oldest and most studied and most successfully studied supplements that you can get out there. So this is something that's safe for anybody, safe for anyone, any age group. And it's going to give you the best performance increases to anything that can be a power related supplement. It's the oldest and most studied one.
Okay. What about the two different types of there's creatine monohydrate and then there's the creatinine, right? So what are
there's a lot of different types of creatines out there to basically decrease the loading time of normal creatine monohydrate. Now, it's really funny because everyone's liver and your body breaks down things a little differently. So if at anything, at any extra, consent is kind of making sure that the creatine is working in your body. And so you have regular creatine monohydrate, which typically you need to go through a loading phase of taking, usually 5 grams of creatine twice a day for a week, because you want to saturate your body. You want to make sure that creatine is getting into all your muscle tissue, storing within your muscle tissues, storing in your liver, which is kind of like the safety deposit of creatine in your body. And therefore, after that week, you want to be able to maintain those stores. And then that's where you get in your 1 serving of 5 grams of creatine a week, for so on and so forth, until you're done with your cycle, you're ended with your sport, etc. But the specialized creatines, there's been studies done that absorb a little bit better. They're more costly. So depending on where you are budget-wise, you either creatine monohydrate is obviously the cheapest, but there's never been a study that says it's any less effective. And that's the funny part. So this is where, everyone's going to have their own take. But the specialized creatines, like your creatine hydrochloride, your ethyl esters, your creatinines, et cetera, basically absorb a little bit quicker and easier through your intestines. And so therefore it decreases the loading time because it actually gets in your tissues a little bit more efficiently. So all the creatines all work awesome, just by the different price points and how they absorb has been the research on that sucker. So it's up to you guys to pick and choose how you want to go about that.
Awesome. So pretty much in a nutshell, if you want to maximize your potential when you're lifting, right? So say Olympic lifting, back squatting, any kind of lift, anything that's going to take anywhere from 0 to 15 seconds, which is usually a lift, right? You want to definitely be supplementing creatine into that. That way you can maximize and get that competitive advantage.
Absolutely. Correct? In my current education research and everything I've led up to is creatine's number 1 for that specific type of goal. Strength goals, explosive goals, repeatability in your explosiveness goals, that creatine should be on the top of the tier right there. Because as far as any other supplement that goes along with that specific energy system, that's the tried and true. The most studied, the most conducive research for actual applicable gains. So hands down, creatine is a must. And you shouldn't be afraid to take it. And because it's one of those things that's been just overly scrutinized. And everyone's always trying to find the next best thing over creatine because it's for a damn good supplement, it's pretty cheap. And everyone's always trying to market the next biggest and more expensive thing. And that's why sometimes they get a bad rap, because people are jealous because creatine's so cheap and awesome. And it is what it is. And so creatine, I always give 2 thumbs up for, and suggest that anyone in that realm should definitely take.
Awesome. You got any questions, Roman?
Yeah. But Jason, I read on BuzzFeed that it's going to shut down my liver and my muscles are just going to fill with all this water.
Absolutely.
So I'm
like
curious.
anything else, water retention is a weird thing because there's a lot of different ways that your body can store water. I mean, we can go on this whole other side subject. Carbohydrates cause water retention. You know what I mean? And the whole thing with like liver shutdown and all that crazy stuff. I mean, if you abuse anything, if I take a handful of multivitamins, I can cause my liver to shut down. So it's always about staying within doses. And there's always those crazy people out there that screw everything up when they're like, all right, I'm going to take 50 grams of creatine and I'm going to be some sort of power, some power horse out here. And they screw the whole thing up for everybody. So that's usually where a lot of these myths come from, these extremists that basically try and kill themselves using way too much of something. So
so let's talk about that. Let's talk about dosage. What's the recommended dosage? Just generalized.
Yeah, recommended doses, especially when you're using creatine monohydrate. There's that loading phase where starters, it's always due to your body mass, is about 5 grams twice a day for about a week to load your system. After you get through that 1 week phase, you can basically go onto your maintenance just to keep the pools, readily available with creatine, where you can take about, 3 to 5 grams a day continuously. Even on non-training days, you're going to want to try and keep a little bit of creatine in there because it's about saturation. So just because you're on an off day or a rest day or something like that, still keep it in the system because that'll keep your saturation and allow that creatine to stay in your system a whole lot better. And then aside from that, your specialty creatines, especially the creatine at HCl, creatinine, ethyl esters, etc. Since they don't preach a big loading phase on there, anywhere between 1.5 to 2.5 grams, and for the bigger boys can get up to 3 grams would suffice. And that's just on a daily intake right there. So just because of the little bit better absorbability across your intestines, etc.
So what happens if you skip the loading phase and you go straight to 15 milligrams, and you just kind of go ham?
Well, the loading phase, especially for creatine monohydrate, it's just if you go straight into, let's say I'm just taking 5 grams a day and blah, 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 et cetera, it's just going to take a little bit longer for your body to build up its pool. So the effectiveness will be delayed. So eventually your body will catch up and will load. But if you want the best effects of creatine, go through the loading phase, especially when you're using a monohydrate, because it's going to get in your system faster, and you're going to notice the effects of creatine a little bit more readily.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to go down to the next anaerobic pathway, which is going to be from 30 seconds to 1 minute. All right.
So fast glycolysis is basically where all you guys start to feel that lactic acid start to accumulate. Those muscles basically setting ablaze, okay? So the fast glycolysis is where it starts to engage coming from creatine. You got your 15 seconds. Let's say you're loaded up on creatine. I'm good. I'm getting 30 seconds of good output. Now the crossover. Creatine's always trying to pedal back and keep itself loaded. But again, like I said, everything kind of crosses over and never just shuts off. But what happens when that creatine starts to run out? I'm still in a non-oxygen phase. And this is where my body starts switching over from that creatine's depleted, carbohydrate starts getting utilized for ATP. But because of that is that expense, that lactic acid starts to accumulate and the acidity of those muscles start to rise. This can occur anywhere between 30 seconds to a minute, 2 minutes if you have a big threshold to withstand that lactic acid and to buffer it. You're going to experience this a lot in more or less of your speedy metcons or chippers or circuits. In the CrossFit world, you could say Fran or Grace. You're going to feel that for darn sure. And so basically what's occurring in your muscles, the lactic acid is a byproduct of, so it's like the exhaust of your anaerobic system working. But the funny thing is, in the misconception, the lactic acid's not causing your muscles to burn. Lactic acid's coming around your liver, and your liver tries to actually utilize that lactic acid to pump out more sugar. But what's happening is acidity is building up due to that aerobic system, and the acidity is what basically makes your muscles shut down. It's like me running in a heater in a furnace, and you're turning up the heat every second, and I'm not able to perform as well. So your cross bridges don't work well in an acidic environment. I mean, your muscle cross bridges for contraction. All your little enzymatic functions start slowing down, and it starts getting all goobery. So the way to really start to supplementation-wise to increase or to further that threshold to allow your body to chew through that acidity and buffer all that lactic acid is through another tried and true supplement. And there's a lot out there, but I'm mostly preaching on the guys that have the best studies done, and it's been around for a while. And there's a little bit of concrete evidence on here is beta-alanine. And beta-alanine is pretty cool. And some people love it or hate it, because it does give you paresthesia, which is like a small side effect that is harmless, but it gives you a little bit of the tingles. And that's from the carnosine getting underneath your skin as it's going through your blood and kind of tickles the nerve endings. But beta-alanine converts into carnosine. And carnosine is the special guy that buffers that acidity in your blood to further the threshold. Because the more you can chew through that acidity, the longer glycolysis can work and supply you with that next step, that next most efficient energy cycle to keep on chugging with high intensity. So the better I can buffer, the more I can go in that into that fast glycolysis and get plenty of energy through my carbohydrates. Number 2 is another realm for lactic or your lactic acid or your acidity, the clearing of it. So beta-alanine helps to buffer the lactic acid, chew through it, diminish it so that acidity can stay at bay. But the citrulline malate has been used, and you'll see a lot of bodybuilding supplements, but citrulline malate specifically, as you can see on the sheet, 2-to-1, is going to help increase vasodilation. So it's going to open up all your blood capillaries, arteries, veins, etc. But the malic acid portion of that actually helps to buffer and clear lactic acid. So the thing is, when you're pumping in all this blood and it's getting acidic and it's creating your muscles to shut down, the vasodilation of your capillaries helps to actually excrete that bad blood to recirculate and become basically buffered. So it helps to get out all that bad blood. It minimizes blood pooling in your muscles that keeps that heaviness that you might feel, especially if you're doing a chipper or a 2-part Metcon where you have only a 3-minute rest between it, and I gotta go again. I gotta make sure that blood gets recycled quickly so all that deoxygenated blood hovering around my muscles does not stay there. I need all the blood I can. So that's where those two can work hand in hand, plumping up the bloodstream to clear the acidity, and number 2, the beta-alanine to help create that stirrup, that buffering agent within your body. So we want to make sure, and most importantly for CrossFitters or anyone working intensively, is we want to be able to promote the length of our creatine phosphate system and our glycolytic systems, because that's what's going to give us the most amount of energy the quickest. And that's the thing. And so go on a little side note here, okay, about, let's say, marathon runners. There's an old coined phrase called hitting the wall. And that is when your body runs out of carbohydrate or those 2 predominant energy systems really shut down. And now all I have is that oxidative system left to carry over, and now I have both of them on my back, but energy goes super slow and they hit the wall from this intense, so I'm feeling good and I'm putting out energy very slow. And this is where a lot of athletes get this puttering feeling. CrossFit oriented wise, when you're going through a large Metcon, you come out of the gates hot, but you're able to continue. You're like, why is this the only gear I got? Because you are out of table as far as your creatine phosphate is just spent. Your anaerobic system's on full overload, and I can't clear that lactic acid, so everything has to shut down, and that's all I get to run on now is just that oxidative system, in which we're going to go into next.
Yeah, and kind of cameo off of this right here. I think everybody experiences hit that wall. We in CrossFit we call it redlining. Where you come out the gate super fast, and you're really blowing everything through, and then you get to the second round and you just hit that wall. You redline, and now you're just barely hanging on. So now this kind of gives you a better insight of like what's really happening inside your body. You ran out of those other 2 systems. Now you're just depending on one. So this is why supplementation is probably really good to kind of prolong that process. And then also, coaching, your coach talking to you, making sure that you don't go like that. You got anything on this part, Roman?
No, you guys covered it. Training well and supplementing right can increase my performance. So I think you've caused some interest in people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, going back to the training idea of knowing your threshold is super important because, thinking of buffering anything is very tough, especially when you're maxing out the acidity in your bloodstream. It's going to take longer to buffer than if you kind of tiptoe the line and able to clear, rather than rushing that acidity into play. And then now I have a huge pool of acid that I have to neutralize. And so that's also a very important training factor. But the supplementation side of things will help your body's ability to clear that lactic acid, to buffer that all that acidity that's occurring inside of your body. So there's always these little things that help to give you little edges to help to increase your performance, your repeatability, and things like that as well.
Awesome. And then to cap me off of that, next week we're going to have Tim. He's going to be from the Juice. We're going to be talking about this and how to properly train the system. So moving on, going on to this slide got kind of a little junked up a little bit, but if you could read it, man, shoot.
Awesome. So the third in line is your oxidative system or slow glycolysis, depending on how you pace yourself, right? Ruben just talked about coming out of the gates super hot. That's fast glycolysis. That is me going, I'm blowing through my creatine quickly, and now I'm switching right over to glycolysis and smashing through, building up acidity like crazy. But there's a way to keep your carbohydrates turned on through this kind of medium to high intensity to where I can keep my lactic acid at bay and I'm not peaking out through fast glycolysis. And now I'm able to keep this carbohydrate really rolling and now keep this kind of buddy-buddy system with the oxidative system. So going into this now, this can be kind of for CrossFitters, your non-Fran, your non-Grace, little bit of a longer Metcon or chipper or circuits or anything that's going to kind of be 5 to 8 minutes plus, right? When you're really starting to really kind of pace yourself, there's a little bit more methodical approach to this. And the keys of really sustaining your slow glycolysis and your oxidative system, obviously, is keeping your acidity buffered. Maintaining carbohydrate stores is key, definitely. And your electrolyte balance. Because this is where you're going to start, sweating a whole lot more. You're getting a lot more repetitions in. Every single time your muscle contracts, there's a whole nother mineral source being used for not necessarily energy, but being used as a piece for a mechanism going on. So every time that your muscle contracts and hooks up and actually disengages, electrolytes are being used. Calcium and potassium and magnesium and your sodium chloride, all those goodies, they're all being used. They're all being used. And so this is an important part that I see a lot of as far as people really talking about, I've gotten plenty of potassium in, I got all my salts in, but they really are picking one piece. Like I got potassium, but I got no salt. I got all this calcium, but I got no potassium or magnesium. And the thing is, you need a balance of all of them because they all have a very pivotal and crucial role in how those muscles contract. So when you're going into something that is going to be long and arduous, and there's going to be a lot of repetitions, and there's going to be a very big chance of me cramping up, you need to think about all those electrolytes. And if I can get all those fulfilled, I'm going to be all good because my muscles are going to have, if I have the right energy, the tools they need to contract. There's a relationship between the utilization of your carbohydrates for energy, but your electrolytes for allowing those muscles to keep contractile ability up. So let's go into a little bit more detail here, right, into the supplement of carbohydrates first, right? We need the energy as well. We need to understand that we need to be able to maintain our blood glucose levels. Because if we have a very fast digesting carbohydrate, our body's going to use it almost like in a fast glycolysis type of manner. It's going to suck all those sugars into the muscle and be like kindling, all be exploded into energy. The thing is here, we need a slow GI carbohydrate that keep our insulin, our blood sugar, so what's present in our blood at times to be stable. Because if I'm going through a 5 to 8 minute long workout and now my body's smoothly sucking sugar, I have a feeder system going on to where I get energy more readily and I can stay within that slow glycolysis a little bit better. I have better delivery of glucose. Now, by being able to maintain this, you're able to maintain your glycogen levels. Your muscle's able to keep that for conversion from your sugars to ATP. But again, one other thing that I kind of started at that can throw everything off, no matter how much energy you have. If your electrolytes go to crap, doesn't matter how much energy you have, your muscles can't contract. And that's why some of you guys have experienced cramping due to potassium, or cramping due to lack of salts, because there's different functions going on. Sometimes you can have a cramp because your muscles will not disengage, which potassium helps to do. But there's also calcium that starts the whole process of how the muscle engages. And so all these guys have a very pivotal role. And when you're sweating in every contraction, every rep you use, you're sucking your pool of electrolytes. So making sure that, knowing that if I'm going into a long, arduous chipper or Metcon, etc., pretty much like if some of you CrossFit guys, like the first workout of the Open last year, when you just had more lunges and burpees and chest to bars than you've ever done in 15 minutes, you guys will understand that, you know. So being able to, especially in these long drive workouts, making sure that I have a stable carbohydrate, that I have an ample amount of electrolytes, I can keep up that stability. So now, therefore, my oxidative system is in check. I have my slow glycolysis underway, and now I have kind of this whole encompassed type of protection for my body as far as performance goes. But in relationship now, since we've kind of gone through all three of these energy systems, we understand how a couple of these big heavy hitters of supplements can all interrelate. And so basically, we're wanting to take the starting spectrum of your ATP creatine phosphate system, the first thing we talked about, and make that as big as possible. And then take that fast glycolysis and make that as big as possible. Because what we want to try and keep at bay as much as possible is the oxidative system, believe it or not, because that's what's going to deliver us the energy the slowest. And we're talking about for high intensity exercises specifically. In a CrossFit world, everything's done for time. So there's a minimal idea of pacing, because we do want to get it done as fast as possible. But the longer that we can spread these guys out, the better and the more energy and more intensity we can put into our workouts.
Yeah, man, that's exactly hit it on the head there. So yeah, let's go. Now that we talked about the three systems, we have 3 workouts from past CrossFit Opens that we're going to talk about. Well, before we do that, let's talk about recovery and post-workout.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, recovery is everything for sure. And this is, one of the most crucial things as well, that some people kind of like, I get a little bit of protein in and I'll be 100% recovered and all that, Not to mention, when you're going into a workout, you're utilizing all that crap I just talked about, and you're using that up, for fuel. So I have to make sure and get that stuff back in on the back side of things. Even just because I got electrolytes going in doesn't mean I'm all good and I don't have to recover myself getting back in those electrolytes, right? I got to make sure and get it in my body and let it sit there and get into where it needs to be. So, especially if we're talking about approaching the CrossFit Open specifically, you're going to be doing repeated workouts as hard as you freaking can multiple times a week. So the biggest thing that your body is going to try and do to you is stress the hell out, and cortisol and all these things that are going to try and slow down the processes in your body are going to try and do that. So number one, really trying to get in proper recovery and consistency in your meals and post. When you get done with that workout, you want to try and put everything back in your body to say, chill out. You're all good. I got you. So you can keep those cortisol, those stress hormones at bay before they start flying in and freaking out, so to speak, okay? So number one, when you're doing anything, if it's going to be an oxidative system thing, glycolytic, if it's going to be heavy lifts to long metcons, proteins are being broken down no matter what. People think just because you're not slamming big weights, you're not breaking down proteins. Yeah, right. Anytime that muscle is being used and used and used and used, there's protein and muscle tissue breakdown going on that we need to replenish. But not to mention the craziest misconception of all about whey protein is that whey protein is for your muscles. And that's not the case. There's about like 4 or 5 amino acids out there in your whole entire amino acid spectrum that you get from whey protein that goes to your muscles. So there are specific amino acids in your whey protein that's going to help with reducing cortisol, with boosting your immune system, with taking care of cell hydration. So it's this whole encompassing thing. So whey protein is an important part, but a complete protein is just as good. A chicken breast is going to be just as good as whey protein. But the bioavailability after a workout to get it in your bloodstream quicker, whey protein is the way to go. It's liquid, it absorbs quickly, it's going to get there. But don't think that I have to just be whaling down whey protein every single meal of the day to make sure I'm getting it all in there, because whey protein alongside of any other, your complete proteins, you're always going to get your same amino acids. So that's a little side note on that. Obviously, getting back your glycogen stores is huge. Obviously, we need to keep that energy in there and packed in that muscle, ready to be utilized. A couple other little supplemental aminos. L-glutamine is a really popular and studied amino acid for your immune system. So for recovery, your body to be able to turn on those immunofunctions to repair anything that's going on with your body, muscle-wise, and stress-wise, as far as some of these, these catabolic hormones really going on in your body. And then obviously another realm, again, for supplementations, antioxidants are amazing, because every time that your muscles are contracting and chaos is going on in your body, those free radicals are like wrecking balls. And they're going to try and break down lots of things. And then these free radicals, spike a whole nother domino effect of stress on your body. So antioxidants are great. I mean, a simple one that people don't really think about, but I mean, it's the best antioxidant ever, is vitamin C. Making sure to get those simple antioxidants in there really help to, again, anything for your immune system is basically going to be an antioxidant that's going to help reduce these stressors that go on in your body, especially when you're kicking ass and getting a lot of intensive work.
Yeah, so definitely. So to kind of recap, as soon as you're done working out, you could have a chicken breast, but like you said, it's not going to digest fast enough for your body's needs. So you definitely want to have a protein shake with the carbohydrate, correct?
Yeah,
and
most definitely.
Yeah, and then some proteins out there, one that Roman kind of represents, does have glutamine in it. I'm not sure if it has carbohydrates and all that good stuff in it. So finding a good protein that has all these ingredients in it is definitely going to be key for post-workouts and post-open, especially since recovery is the name of the game when it comes to this. Is 5 weeks of people hitting these workouts twice, on a Friday and a Monday, and now you got from Friday, and you want to expect your body to recover fast enough to hit it and give it 100% again by Monday. Then recovery is going to be probably the most important thing out of all of this, because if you didn't do well in the first workout, then you just blew all your systems down, and now you have the inability to recover fast enough. Now, how do you expect to even match or beat the score that you got last time?
Exactly.
So that's kind of a point. You got anything on this, Roman?
Yeah, I mean, I think he hit it. Recovery is not just about getting protein in to build muscle, because that's not all that needs to be recovered. Stress and the environment you're in when you're training, hard, or just training, your aerobic system, or whether it's just a light training day. Hormones take a huge effect on a lot of facets of life that people don't understand. And protein, carbohydrates, L-glutamine, being able to recover quickly is essential, not just kind of getting the protein idea out of their heads, but making sure that they understand that it's a bigger step than just recovering to build muscle, rather than recovering for their overall health.
Yeah, and really what we're breaking here is that myth of, protein gets my muscles big. We're in the performance aspect of this. We're not really in the aesthetics side of this, and we're really talking more aesthetics here, and we're talking about performance. You want to keep this engine as fine-tuned as possible. And I think with all these supplements, I think that's going to be attainable. Would you agree, Jason?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I mean, it is a weird myth about protein because, you know, the bodybuilders have you know, kind of coined the whole whey protein thing, you know, in the beginning, and that's what everything kind of gets stuck to. But I mean, like I said, there's a specific amino acid in your complete protein, you know, profile for every specific function in your body. So that's the thing. To kind of recap on what I said a little bit earlier, I mean, there's amino acids that help your state of mind. There's amino acids to help with your immune system. There's amino acids to help, yes, with your muscles. There's amino acids that help you utilize glucose and reuptake all your carbohydrates better. So this whole protein thing is kind of a whole phenomenon with your body that kind of gives you all the keys to turn certain functions on. So by not getting in these proteins, you're just not hurting your muscles, but you're hurting all the systems. Anything that can basically be turned on or utilized in your body, you're giving it a disservice.
Awesome. So let's go down. Now let's talk about specific workouts that we've seen in the past.
Yeah.
And Jason, you already kind of touched up on this a little bit. Last year, our first workout, which kind of hit everybody with the bombshell because we'd never really gone that long in any open workout. We usually kind of stuck around 12 minutes or less, you know. So they hit us with a 20-minute AMRAP of 25 overhead walking lunges, 8 burpees, 25 overhead walking lunges, 8 chest and bar pull-ups. This is the RX, of course. So, you know, just kind of break this down and just from looking at it, you know, what systems do you see happening here? And, you know, and how can you, you know, supplement to do a better output of performance here?
Well, this is a classic workout of this is going to use everything you've got type of deal, because when we think about the ideas of these movements and whatnot, you know, the overhead walking lunges are not going to be an explosive movement. Your burpees, yes. Your chest to bars, yes. So when we think of, to recap on that beginning lecture, when we're talking explosive movement, what do we want to try and keep alive and available? The creatine phosphate system. We got to be able to stay explosive enough to get that chest to the bar every single time consistently so we don't miss our reps. We got to stay explosive so we can get over that burpee bar quickly. And we're talking about a big mass movement there from the floor and over the bar. So as I stated, and here's the thing that we have to understand is, again, no energy system just because of a length of a workout means this is just going to be this energy system or just going to be that. They're all working together. And like I was trying to kind of paint the picture of, we want to try and span these earlier energy systems as long as possible or keep them alive. Keep them in the picture. Keep them playing a role. So to really try and accomplish this, if we can create a nice little cocktail of supplementations, yeah, we're going to want to keep our creatine scores plentiful. So therefore, on minute 15, I could still be hitting those chest to bars without having to take those to singles because I don't have enough energy to string them together. But I'm also going to need to make sure that I have enough carbohydrates, I have enough electrolytes, so I can get those multiple repetitions of those overhead lunges and those burpees and everything firing. We're talking about all those big muscle contractions going on. I mean, keep them alive. And not to mention, due to our pace, the better we can buffer the lactic acid, the more consistently we can keep up our intensities without having to slow down due to those acidic factors. So this workout is an everything workout. This is going to use all the energy systems, and the individual that has the most turn on of those is going to be the one to succeed in this workout. So.
And that goes through training as well. You know, you got to build that aerobic base. You got to be able to train those systems enough so you can sustain them longer, you know, and that way they don't shut down on you at different times when you need them the most. For example, if you went really, really fast and made those overhead walking lunges really explosive, like most people did, you know, and you got to the burpees and you went even more explosive there, and then you went back to the overhead walking lunges, and then you expected your body to, you know, recruit enough ATP to try to get those chest to bars going again. You know, it doesn't work that way. You know, yeah. So your thoughts on this workout, Roman?
Yeah, it's a long one. Um, the biggest thing is, you see this workout come out, you can't go hit it in the morning, or hit some training in the morning and get your, creatine phosphate system better. You can't increase your aerobic base. It's too late. But what you can do is supplement yourself to maybe give you that little extra edge, but also, helping that recovery. So you can maybe perform it a second time or be ready for the next workout. You never know what's coming next. It could look the exact same. It could be a 1 rep max, but in a workout like this and most open workouts, how long you can stay aerobic is going to be a game changer. If you're aerobic till the 16th minute mark, and then that's when you start really hitting predominantly aerobic. Obviously you're using all systems, but those guys who are hitting chest to bars like nothing, and oxygen still fueling them, that's going to be a big deal. So I think the longer you can promote that and pace appropriately, it's going to make a big difference. And then making sure you have the right supplementation, you have the right food in your belly to sustain, is a big deal in a workout like this, in all open workouts.
Yeah.
So looking at this, Jason, what would you recommend as far as say, because you like you said, you have all systems. So how would you approach this, say, as far as supplement wise, right before you went at it? Would you want to do your creatine? Would you want to do, your carbs? Would you want to do all that at once, or how would you tell one of the athletes to kind of supplement this?
Yeah, I mean, well, here's the crazy thing. This is where people kind of throw themselves in a loop as far as supplementation goes, because there's no instant gratification with supplements. Creatine, you got to load. Like I said, you have to saturate. Beta-alanine's kind of the same. You got to keep it in your system to build your carnosine, your carnosine levels. Same thing with your glycogen. I mean, just because you eat a nice breakfast doesn't mean that all that's going to store in that meantime before you hit that workout. So a lot of it is preparation, and knowing, obviously, the kookiness of CrossFit, that there's going to be some sort of burner in there, and allowing yourself part of the preparation. And no, just not the training, but the preparation of your body to be able to absorb and utilize these either these supplements and or these nutrients, and being prepared to enter that is number one. But like I said, with this supplementation wise, the CrossFit staple, in my eyes, in my opinion, is that creatine needs to be supplemented. Beta-alanine should definitely be in there, and making sure that you have enough electrolytes, because carbohydrates, for most people, we're getting a pretty decent amount in, but the type of carbohydrate, we want to make sure that our blood sugar just doesn't crash on us after minute 10 or minute 15. So, all these ideas and becoming aware of these energy systems and these kind of simple supplements that, are pretty easy to get your hands on, and not super expensive, can really help, give yourself that little bit of edge, and take off a little bit of the torturous sensations, as far as when we start running out of energy. So, my take on this is be prepared. If you're going to start taking supplements, do them early, get them in your system, and prepare for the worst, So that's the thing, is every energy system is always on. So the better that we can prepare each energy system is going to be kind of your best game plan, knowing that all of them are going to be working. And so the better force that you can create with each one will be your best advantage.
So pretty much like to recap is we're kind of breaking that myth of, okay, I'm taking beta-alanine now, so this has to work now. So now I should be able to sustain longer because I took it 2 hours ago. So now it's kicked in by now. It's like one of those things. It's like you got to, supplementation and training has to be approached the same way. It has to be consistent, right? So it has to be consistent. You have to be, not just because you started right now, it's not going to work. For example, if I started cleaning today, I shouldn't be able to hit 315 the same day. I just started. I learned how to do it. Let's put 315 on the bar. Let's do that for reps. It doesn't work that way. You have to build yourself up to that. So, and I think that's kind of one of the takeaways I got from what you just said.
Absolutely.
So let's go down to the next workout, 16.5, which was last year. This is a different approach. It's a complete opposite of the one that you saw, 16.1. 16.1 was more of a, kind of who could sustain the longest. This one was who could get done the fastest, and who could hold on to those systems longer, because if you started looking at some people's times, there were some ridiculous times. I can't recall some of the times. Some of the times, Roman?
Yeah, I think top times were right around 6 minutes.
Yeah, 6 minutes. And you could just count up how many reps that is, and those are two explosive movements back to back. And with minimal rest period in between. So just looking at that, Jason, after what we just talked about, what do you see? What do you think?
This is just threshold. it's your ability to hold on to a pace and knowing your lactic threshold right there and holding your ground, and making sure that I can stay consistent through all these repetitions without hitting that complete lactic, that complete lactic overload to where, I have to convert to that next energy system because I don't have it, where I get that muscle burnout. And so this is something that, your buffering systems would have to be, really, really fine tuned to be able to stay at that very high pace. It's not one of those things about, getting it done, because you can surely pace yourself to get through this, but being able to keep up with those very fast times to where it is a sprint oriented movement rather than a paced movement is really all about expanding that threshold as best as you can. Because if you're staying at that high intensity, you're in that first glycolytic stage, that fast glycolysis. We're using a lot of carbohydrate and there's a lot of acidity byproduct going on. So the better that you can chew through that, the better chance you have at keeping those times super low.
Yeah, and then so moving on to the next one, we got a little bit of both. We got open workout 15.1 and 15.1A, which was 9-minute AMRAP of 15 total bars, 10 deadlifts, and 5 snatches. And then you went straight into 15.1A, which was a 1 rep max of a clean and jerk. With this one was, after you were completely depleted, you went really hard for 9 minutes. You went through all your systems. Most people at this point were already in, just depriving off their oxidative pathway where they're just hanging on, and now you're asking them to hit a 1 rep max clean and jerk. So this to me is a piece of recovery. How have you been training recovery, and have you been supplementing recovery properly? And is there enough supplementation in your body that's going to help you hit that 1 rep max and recruit that all those energies back to kind of hit that? So looking at that, Jason, what are your thoughts?
It's a weird one because like you said, it's one of those things that catches up with you. Those first couple rounds, you feel kind of nice and smooth through it because, you get through some of those wait, this is the 15, 10 deadlifts. Oh, okay. This one. Yeah. My bad. I was looking at the other one. Yeah. But this is one that creeps on you. And this is also your abilities, your body's ability. Like I said, you're cutting through all those more top end energy systems, and then you're relying on explosive ability at the very end. So this is one of those creatine pool type of ideas that I was talking about earlier, that no matter what, even in this first one, even though that it's going to be a burner and you're using all your energy systems, you're using a crap ton of creatine, obviously, to stay explosive, to get as many of those rounds in that you can. But then when you're done, I have to now make sure that I have a good reload and recharge of that very first energy system, so I can hit and make those movements very explosive for the 1 rep max clean and jerk. And especially since it's not even an EMOM thing. It's hit that weight, load it up, and go again. It's a very, very short duration repeatability ability right there. And the better that you can kind of keep everything, pool wise, there is going to be the key. But supplementation, I mean, this is again where creatine can really help someone, maybe give you that extra edge to get that last good clean and jerk to make it successful without you completely going to hell in a handbasket after your first 2 attempts. And then even though technically you on a good day you'd be able to hit that. You just run out of gas because again those first energy systems are just completely depleted. So those little mini edges, this could be something where creatine could help to expand that pool, to get you one extra good quality set out of it would definitely be a thing. Because again, as Roman was talking about, supplements again will never make you better out of the blue. It's always about your training. But it's like these little like glimpses, these little helping angelic things that like, oh wow, I was able to get that one last rep when I needed it, et cetera, are those little mini game changers, that can make or break placing or you being able to hit these final marks, et cetera. So this could be something where creatine could help because it will give you a bigger pool, allow you to have a little bit more to grab from when you really need it, especially on explosive movement.
Yeah, thoughts, Roman?
Yeah, I mean, personally, when I see this workout, the first thing I think is grip. Grip endurance is extremely grip intensive. I mean, the first 3 movements, you're holding on to something, and pretty much if you're going to be competitive, you're not letting it go at the top. And maybe the snatches, you'll go singles, but toes to bar, you're hanging, deadlifts, you're pulling, and snatches you're pulling, and then you have to pull for a max. So that's personally the first thing I see. And like you said, that one extra rep, especially in the open, could be a huge difference. You're supplementing with creatine, and it helped you get that extra pound or helped you recover that much more, or even recovered from the previous week's workout. Tapping in to your max capability, your max potential to hit a 1 rep max is hard enough, not only doing it after a workout. So now you're in this position where, you are where you are recovery wise, from training. So whether you're ready to hit that clean and jerk or not, you have to do it, to be, especially if you're competing. So that, like you said, that little difference in the nutrition, which whether it's helping you tap into that system for the clean and jerk, or whether it's helping you recover, in that short duration of loading the bar, getting back and relaxing and, letting that supply of creatine get ready and start, producing ATP. So, that's a big takeaway, is just being prepared, like you said. And, that goes a long way.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people are probably thinking after watching this whole thing, like, well, where do I get all these supplements at? Right. And we got the answer right here. We got Method X products. We got Never Stop and Jolt. I'm going to have Jason talk about his products a little bit.
Okay. We have two main products out right now. Jolt is our pre-workout. And this is in the kind of the CrossFit world, what I market as kind of the Metcon killer. There's ingredients that I've talked about, the citrulline malate, the beta-alanine, that really helps to buffer that lactic acid, especially in those glycolytic energy systems. So it's allowing you to chew through lactic acid and a lot of those acidity factors a lot better. It's gonna help, again, clear a lot of that bad blood to increase your circulation. So even in an oxidative sense, you're able to promote more blood flow, more oxygen into the muscles. A couple other ingredients that help back up those two, the L-citrulline and the beta-alanine, which I've talked about in the lecture, is betaine, which is a beet-derived amino acid, which is basically a methylated glycine. And this really helps your body's natural production, aids into the production of creatine without having to load creatine specifically. And we have agmatine sulfate, which is a little added nitric oxide booster. And the cool part about agmatine sulfate is it's been snowballed in a study that actually helps to increase pain tolerance. So it helps you kind of drive through a couple of those last reps when those thresholds are really killing you. And it's kind of a mental thing. Do I do these last 2 reps? And it's been proven to help a little bit. Like I said, those little extra edges. So our Jolts are non-stim pre-workout, no caffeine involved, just the supplements that you need to help your energy systems give you that little advantage. And next we have the Never Stop, which is basically your slow glycolysis or your oxidative supplement. Never Stop has, in which I talked about, a very slow digesting, insulin stable carbohydrate. It's derived from it's called Carb 10, made by Compound Solutions, and it's a pea starch. So it's not any corn-based or oat-based or potato-based carbohydrate. It's a vegetable starch, which is proven to keep your insulin levels very sustained. So therefore, you have nice, slow glucose delivery into those muscles. And it's backed by your amino acids and glutamine, and most importantly, in which I've covered in some of these topics that is well needed, is a full spectrum of your electrolytes, from your sodium, chloride, potassium, calcium, if I didn't say that, and magnesium. So all your main electrolytes you can get fulfilled through your Never Stop.
Awesome. And where can we find these products?
You can find them on methodx.com. We do a lot of our deals through social media interaction too. So we have Facebook. Look us up at MethodX, Instagram. We can also do orders online, etc. So you can, if you reach out to us on any of these mediums, you can easily obtain our products.
And you also have them at some here in Fresno.
Yeah.
Some retailers, right?
Yeah, in Fresno, California, we have stops at Iron House Nutrition, which is on the south side of Fresno, and also Max Muscle Nutrition up on the north side. So if you look those up, Max Muscle 559 and Iron House Nutrition, you can definitely find those products in-house as well.
Awesome. And then for as far as the whey protein, Roman?
Yeah, so I'm affiliated with a company called Revive RX. So it's developed by Marcus Philly. He's a games athlete, seasoned athlete, big and grit as well. So it's a 2-to-1 carb protein ratio, whey protein. We focus mainly on recovery. We got L-glutamine in the product. So, again, it's 10 grams of protein and 20 grams of carbs. And the big question we get is, why is it 10 grams? And we really went over that. Protein isn't the thing that's just going to make you jacked because you drink it after your workout. It's, it's a bigger thing. It's about the hormonal response and, good gut health and getting that pre-digested nutrients into your body post-workout.
Awesome. So I think we covered all 3 phases of supplementation. We covered the pre-workout, what supplement you should be taking, the intra, and then how to properly recover. And I think the biggest takeaway from this is you can't just take a jug of Jolt one time and never take it again, and then take it again three months down the road and expect the things to kind of work, right? It has to be a consistent time, and you have to have a building block from it. It's kind of like training. You can't just, like I always talk to my weight loss people, is you can't go 3 days working out, take 2 weeks off, and expect to pick up where you picked up 3 days ago. That's from those 3 days. You're going to start fresh every time. So it's going to be one of those things where you got to always be consistently, supplementing and training, recovery. So I think that was the biggest focus on tonight's webinar was, express some knowledge and pretty much break down the pathways and how supplementation is going to help you out. Any closing thoughts, guys?
Yeah. So I know it's time. It's the open competitions on the brain, and then we just talked about products, how to increase your performance, and that's what everybody's thinking right now. Is like, oh, sick, I'm gonna get some products right before the open. I'm gonna crush it, but that one extra rep in the open is a big deal. But using products like these or ingredients like these throughout the year during training, getting one extra rep on a workout, over 50 workouts you might have in a year, getting just a little more long sustainability and workouts once a week. And, that extra 1% every day is going to lead up to a greater outcome during next year's open or the next competition you do. So supplementing and eating correctly and making sure, you're appropriately looking at how you're fueling your body through training is way more important. You fall to the levels of your training during competition. You don't just get this gain of strength. Out of nowhere. You don't just start, your aerobic capacity doesn't increase by 20% because you're mentally ready. There's some thoughts to that. You might get a little extra during competition just because of the atmosphere, but training is really going to make the biggest difference. And then if you're going to be able to aid your training year round and be able to push again that extra 1%, that's where the difference is going to be made.
Well said. I completely coin with that. And it's the summation, right? These supplements are made to help you, work harder, get those extra reps, etc. And those extra even few reps, like I said, that the summation of things is what people have the hardest time looking at. Is, again, if you add up all those extra reps that you were able to obtain, they add up to the large amounts of volume. And not only, talking about how supplementation can help you, but also hopefully this webinar helped kind of differentiate, what supplements are actually doing what, because there's a lot of mixed marketing out there, and there's a lot of different supplements that have these different things inside of them claiming to do this and that and the other. So hopefully this clears out to what direction that these supplements are actually helping to give you those small gains in. So, a kind of an informative and as far as kind of breaking down misconceptions as far as supplement goes, and kind of pointing these supplements in the right direction as far as what energy systems and bringing that to kind of the forefront of your guys' minds.
Yeah, I think we definitely build the value in supplementation, and I think that was definitely a home run. Definitely on your part, Jason, awesome having you, man.
Thank you.
Way to explain everything and kind of make it to a sense where we could actually understand it. You know what I mean?
My pleasure.
It's a lot of times you could read a lot of this stuff online and, and be, what did I just read? But at least here, I'm hoping everybody was able to kind of get that information. And then if you want more information on it, you could contact Jason. And how can they contact you, Jason?
Well, you can, obviously that I'm running all of our social media content myself personally. So if you reach out to us through Instagram, Facebook, you can email us at support@methodx.com. There's multiple avenues you guys can try it out and branch out and reach us at. So any questions when it comes to supplementations that we have, or to recap on any information I said, please hit us up. And yeah, so those are those easy avenues that you get in touch.
Yeah, and like I said, Undoubted and MethodX work hand in hand. So, we'll steer you in the right. We'll get your training program lined up along with Tribe, and we'll get your supplements squared away. And like I said, we work hand in hand. And I think that's a wrap, guys.
Awesome, pleasure, gentlemen.
All right,
as always.
until the next one. All right, see you guys.